Welcome back to the Voices of Women Summit, where in honor of International Women's Day 2023, we are raising the voices of hundreds of women so their messages can be heard. Your host for this session is Tracy Root. Tracy is the founder of the Gather community. She has another amazing guest coming right up. Take it away, Tracy.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much. And we are so excited to be here for our second speaker of the day, the gorgeous Rachel Rosenberg. Hello, good morning, Rachel.
Hi.
So excited.
Thank you.
So glad to have you here.
Yeah, so grateful to be here. Thank you.
It's so good. We're still getting our rhythm here. It's 8 o'clock in the morning, my time. Where are you located?
I am sitting in a hotel room in Arizona.
In Arizona. Awesome. Love it. Well,
with
I hope
laundry bag behind me.
So
I'm
awesome.
on the ironing board.
Well, it looks great. It looks totally cool. And that's exciting. I'm in California, and so we're not that far. I'll wave down that direction too.
I'll be there.
So excited to hear you. You're going to be talking today about radical resiliency. This sounds so good. Let me tell everyone a little bit about you, read a little bit about you real quick here so that they have a feeling for where you're coming from. Rachel Rose is an Rose or Rosenberg?
Rosenberg.
You do both. Okay. I love Rachel Rose is great. I love that. Rachel is an empowerment coach guiding clients as they transition total life changes in self, health, and wealth. The trifecta. Her infectious positivity led her to become a motivational TEDx speaker, business consultant, and author. Rachel grew up in Detroit, studied art and fashion in New York City before moving to Chicago, becoming VP of both a finance company and a health and wellness company. So no stranger to life transformation, overcoming a near fatal snowboarding accident only elevated her passion and mission to impact, inspire, and empower others in taking their lives and businesses to the next level. Through simple success method, she lives to show others how to blow their own minds. Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. I can't wait to hear. Tell us a little bit about why is this your thing? Tell us about your transformation and why you're so passionate about what you're doing.
I had decided that I was going to learn how to snowboard. And after, I'm just not a winter person. And after multiple smashing of my head multiple times, going up and down the hill for 4 days, I was told when I got home a week later, and I only went to the hospital because my mom made me, basically. And I grabbed my youngest son and said, we're going to go get a CAT scan so Nani will be happy, and then we'll go for lunch. And within 40 they said 40 minutes, 40 seconds, the doctor came in and said, you need to find a ride for your son and you need to say goodbye. And you have a fatal brain injury, and it's fatal.
It's too late.
Bend your will. That's what they told me.
Oh my gosh.
So the main thing that came out of that 18 months later, working with an angel doctor, was most people die or become, they're just not able to get back to their life. And on a recent podcast, my doctor was asked what made Rachel's injury different, her recovery from 90% of the people that suffer this injury. And he said mindset. And as much as I believed in mindset and live it, and it's amazing to me that it even can impact your health. Yeah. And you just think about, what if a doctor gave you a diagnosis instead of saying you have whatever and you have this much time to live? What if they said, but if you believe and you are determined and, to take your life to the next level, you're going to get through this. just for people to go through and into
Yeah.
something knowing like, I got this,
Yeah.
it's so impactful. And I just feel like I'm here to spread that message no matter what is going on. Like, you get to decide.
Oh my gosh. Congratulations.
Yeah,
And
thank
I
you.
can completely imagine exactly what you're saying, right? The doctor is, because they're so like in that science zone, right? They probably have a hard time believing, let alone uttering to a patient. But if you think positively, you can get through the terminal diagnosis that I just gave you. Like,
Yeah.
they're not, it would be very rare for someone to
It-
say, for a doctor to say that.
and
I
it's like the placebo effect, and it
right.
gives people hope. And so that is my mission and my passion. I mean, it keeps me up at night. Like, if one person can, change their way of thinking and change their destiny and their outcome, like,
Yeah.
that's
So
it.
good. So tell us, that's amazing. Again, congratulations again. Like, I'm blown
Thank
away.
you.
I'm kind of like, as a speaker, I'm not often lost for words, but I'm kind of going, I don't even know, like, I'm so blown away. So tell us a little bit more, like, tell us about what radical resilience is for you? Like, what
Yeah. No.
literally, I'm never at a loss for words. This is blowing me away.
Oh, well,
Keep going. Give us some more goodness. I love this.
that radical resilience, there's 5 steps.
Oh, fantastic.
And yeah, and in radical resistance, I was planning to share the first 2.
Oh, great.
I think that most people, when they're going through a bad time, the initial response to their trauma or their situation, being overwhelmed, or what seems to be an insurmountable obstacle, is it's very common for people to either deny it or pretend it's not happening,
Yeah.
or distract ourselves, right? Like, how many times are we like focusing on something, a task or whatever's happening, and we're like scared, whatever the feelings are that are negative, and then we start
Yeah.
whatever,
Just kind of
all of a
shove it
sudden
away
we're
and go do something
hungry.
else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Like, we're not feeling and accepting the pain. We're trying to numb the pain, whether it's a Netflix binge or food or alcohol, whatever your choice. We have so many now, social
Yeah.
media. And the first step to radical resiliency, and what got me, this is all in hindsight after the accident, is just being there. Have your pity party, just, why me, but the main thing is not staying there. It's not staying in victim mode. It's going from victim to victor. But the only way to do that is to accept where you are, be with it. It's scary. I mean, when they said this to me, it wasn't even real, to say goodbye to your son. I mean, and then when I got to ICU, the scariest part of the whole situation was they prepared me for surgery and said, well, we'll let you know what's going on and we'll try to save you. And they left me alone in this room, and there was no one there to process it, or talk about it, or ask questions. Or you're in a state of shock many times when you first get hit with a trauma, and some people think trauma needs to be like this big huge thing, but everyone responds to trauma differently. It could be a conversation, it doesn't have to be like an accident. And so to be there, and it just wasn't realistic. And the second piece of radical resilience, after you are in that place to accepting it, is it's up to you to decide. And, again, we go back to the mindset. And it's not the big lesson that I learned with radical resiliency, and that I believe is such an important message for all of us to know, is it is not your conditions that determines your outcome, your destiny. It's your decisions. It's just a decision. So it's about the deciding that this is not the mountain I'm going to die on, forgive the pun.
Literally.
And making the decision. And when, again, this is third party, just for me to even realize when they asked the doctor what the difference was, and he said that my response to them was, I'm not accepting what you're saying. He said we couldn't tell her that she was not going to be able to get up, that she was not going to be able to go after everything that she was, planning to do and share and see. And he said she wasn't accepting that. And I can't even believe the outcome was so strongly based on mindset. But we have to get that. Like, that is the biggest thing ever. When it comes, because without health, we have nothing. And if
Absolutely.
it can impact even your health, we need to make sure that our outlook is amazing and positive, because our outlook will determine our outcome.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it's simple but true, right? We know this to be true, but sometimes putting it into practice is additionally challenging, right? Which is why I love the tidbits that you're giving, right? It's not your conditions, it's your decisions, the power of choice. Excuse me. So amazing. Someone's asking here in the chat, we've got a great question for you. What's the best way to respond when you're hit with a trauma like this? Like, what's the healthy response that can work for you when you're trying to get your mindset together?
Before the mindset, again, is to accept it, be with it. But you can't overcome the trauma until you create a solid foundation, until you wrap your head around it.
You can't get past it until you actually recognize it's there.
Exactly. And, it's kind of like, if anyone can relate or has ever read the book Going on a Bear Hunt, so going on a bear hunt.
Remind everyone, it's coming to me, but remind everyone.
I'm going to share. So we're going on a bear hunt. We're going to catch a big one. And all of a sudden, an obstacle's in front of us, right? Can't go over it, can't go under it, can't go around it. The only way is through. But you can't go through it until you acknowledge where you are and what's happening, right? It's like building something on a cracked foundation. You have to be with it first. And I'm reading this amazing book about trauma right now. And the analogy is when there's, God forbid, a natural disaster. They don't come in and start rebuilding, right? And clearing away everything until they assess the situation, until they see what's happened and where everything is and what's coming, what is happened. Like, just
well,
just
assess
at the
is
most ground
like
level.
You said, right? You've got to look around and see what the situation is before you can take the first step at addressing the situation. You got to figure out what's going on.
And then at some point, and this is, again, so much of this is hindsight. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping that my hindsight can be somebody's foresight or inspire them, to change their outlook and their outcome, but is to accept it, but also to before you make the decision is to not numb the pain, right? I mean, you've got to go through it. The only way is through it, because so often we numb the pain And then time goes by, and that trauma and dealing with it is never going to go away until we handle it, you know, and it's not easy, but it's the only way to go forward.
Yeah,
In
it is.
and in because it will hold you back unless
You know,
handle it.
the thought that's coming to my mind is, you know, we have people, you know, a lot of us have things from our younger life that we don't even recognize affect how we respond to things that happen in our older life. And so before something happens that is this trauma experience, it would behoove us all to start working on that resilient, positive mindset before we come across something like what happened to you.
Okay, Tracy, you
Yes,
are
darling.
like reading my mind right
Oh,
now.
good.
Because yeah, I wasn't sure how this was going to go. And there was a topic that continues to come up repeatedly that was so tugging on my heart. And I was able to, you know, relate it back to the radical resiliency, but it's exactly what you're talking about. Can I share?
Yeah, go.
So it's about women and our worthy and deservingness. And you're talking about, you know, childhood, which that, by the way, is the majority of when our stories begin, right? Is before we're 7 years old. And so often our women, we have issues, and men too, but we're talking on behalf of women today about worthy and deservingness. And so often it's the result, as a young girl, the importance of the role of the father figure in each of our lives. He's the first man in our life. And I don't know, I know that there may not be a lot of dads in the audience today, but I don't know if they realize the importance in their role in setting the stage for their daughters and boys too. But again, it's with it's not just in relationships, but it's research is showing now it's the influence in their body image, on their daughter's body image and self-confidence and gratification in careers and so many other choices, and even our need for approval and the confidence to speak up and assert ourselves. Yep. And to find our voice and feel comfortable sharing our decisions. And one of my favorite quotes that I live by, and it's so many people are in this position and don't even know it, but I raised my kids telling them with great power comes great responsibility. And I'm speaking to the dads and the father figures, even if they're not in the audience today.
Well, we can pass it to them, right? That's part of our job, is to help them see too.
Yes, in our own self-worth. You know, please join me in sharing and enlightening them, because they are the first relationship for a girl, and, you know, later a woman, positive or negative. They are going to impact the relationship goals, their just goals in general, their values. And girls who are told literally or figuratively that they are not important based on their father's behavior will go forward prioritizing the needs of everyone else in place of their own, right? And one of the things that I learned going through the accident and everything else, the people pleasing and perfectionism is a very big thing for women and girls who aren't feeling worthy and deserving. And the worst thing, the biggest mistake that we can make is to allow outside things that are happening to define our worthy and deservingness, right?
Well,
we have
and then you can wrap it all back up to the worst thing we could do is allow those outside thoughts to define our future, whether it's about our worthiness or what happened to you, and allowing this diagnosis to define your future or a lack of future. right? Because it all
100%.
came down to your own decision, not
Yeah,
the conditions.
100%,
Love
100%.
it. Love it.
And
Full
I just,
circle.
so yeah, to the dads, I just want to encourage them to share their passions with their daughter. And most importantly, support and encourage them to share her opinions, ask her what's important to her,
What's important.
and listen intently and advocate on her behalf, so that she believes, like we are all here today. And I'm so proud of all the girls that are going to be here today speaking, but so that she believes unequivocally that her voice is important and she deserves to be heard.
It all matters. It all matters. I love it. Tell us about, so how does this blueprint that you have help us with our resiliency? And Marge already put the link in the chat, so everyone can go ahead, opt into that now, because you won't remember later. You're not going back, don't save the chat, go click on it right now. Tell us how this blueprint is going to help us with our radical resiliency.
Well, we talked about the blueprint is reclaiming your power, right? Which that's the decision part, and your positivity, because definitely, like the saying goes, is, your perspective, it's the same, what I was referring to earlier with just your outlook determines your outcome. And I don't know, do we have time for a quick story?
Super quick.
Did you, if anyone's ever heard about the two salesmen, so the shoe company sends the first salesman down to South America, and he gets down there and he calls them and he says, cancel the shipment that's coming. Nobody wears shoes down here. And the next day they send the next salesman down, and it gets down there and he says, quadruple the shipment of shoes that's coming, because nobody wears shoes, right? So it's all in our perspective. And the third step in the blueprint is possibility. Because when you change your perspective and your mindset, and you do decide, all of a sudden there's possibility all around us.
Yeah, so good. I love that little story. I've heard that before. It's super telling to someone's mindset. Perfect. I love it. Okay. Really quick, I want to mention to everyone who's watching that we have our next speaker coming up here in what we call track 4. This is my track. Pauline McCarthy is going to be talking about menopause being the gateway to greatness, which I love. I can't wait to hear this. Pauline McCarthy is coming up next. But before we go to her, Rachel, give us like that one final thought. What do you want people to remember when they leave your talk today? What's that last thing?
I want them to remember what we started with. That is that ultimately in radical resiliency, it is not our decision or our circumstances, that it is our decision, not our circumstances, that will ultimately be what creates our destiny.
Love it. Don't forget, it's the decisions that you make that create your destiny. Rachel said it, and so it shall be. I love it. Rachel, it's so wonderful to hear you today and to get to meet you. I've got your freebie link open myself right now because I'm really excited about what you said. Thank you again. Ladies, gentlemen, those of you in the audience, thank you for being here. We've got Pauline McCarthy coming up next. And thank you for being here at the Voices of Women Summit. Cheers.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you for joining us for another amazing session of the Voices of
Wonderful
Women
to meet
Summit,
you. Thank you so
where
much.
our mission is to raise the voices of hundreds of women so their messages can be heard. For recordings of all sessions, plus an amazing VIP gift bundle, upgrade to VIP now. If you have any questions or problems during the summit, email our support team at support@voicesofwomensummit.com. Stay tuned. We have another fantastic speaker coming right up.